Miami's fabulous historian addresses a lecture
Its rich history is what got me into Miami's history.
at a place that holds memories. And a baseball field comes back alive.
Now I'm 10. That was 4 years ago.
After 4 years of building, these stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Hello, South Florida. I'm Valentina Gaspari.
And I'm Anthony Cruz. Today is Monday, May 13th, 2024.
Live from the Lee Caplin School of Journalism and Media in North Miami, this is Caplin News.
Days of damage following a tornado touchdown in Florida capital city. This morning, a major cleanup is underway after a violent storm raced through parts of Tallahassee this weekend, leaving neighborhoods without power and severe damage to homes.
WTXL's Kenya Cardone spoke with residents about the aftermath and the major rebuild they are now facing.
We're here, just if anybody was wondering, there are a whole neighborhood of people here, and we're waiting.
That's Lawrence Trewick speaking to me from inside of Burgess Drive, a street in southwest Tallahassee with only one entrance, which is currently barricaded by massive debris.
This is day 3 down here on Burgess Drive, and we can't get out. Nobody can get in.
And if they are, it's thanks to these neighbors who have turned their backyard into a makeshift pathway for their fellow neighbors.
It was a lot of pulling branches and getting the hedge trimmers out. Unfortunately, we don't have chainsaws, so it took a lot of hand sawing.
Trewick tells me there are at least 50 people living on this street dealing with devastating damage to their homes and no power.
For us, it's not necessarily the power. We're just like, we're trapped, literally. We can't get out of here.
There are power lines hanging down at every turn, which neighbors say has made landscaping services turn away from them unless they can turn the main power box off. Problem is,
the main power is back here.
Practically unreachable. They tell me they understand city and county crews are swamped with work, but they can't help not feeling hopeless.
I don't know any other way you would feel when you're trapped and nobody's coming to help you.
That was WTXL's Kenya Cardone reporting. Nearby residents are desperate to get some basic necessities, and workers have set up a temporary station for people to grab food and water.
The death toll in Brazil continues to rise this morning following heavy rains and floods. That number is now 145, according to an update from the Civil Defense Agency of the Rio Grande do Sul state yesterday. Various household debris litter the flooded streets and power lines fell over homes. More rain and damaged infrastructure are expected in the state today.
Cameras there this morning as Michael Cohen departed for the courtroom for the trial of former President Trump. Trump's former so-called fixer is scheduled to take the stand this week in the former president's hush money trial. He's the star witness as prosecutors try to prove Trump illegally falsified business records to hide payments to adult film actress Stormy Daniels.
A Florida native sharing his research on the origins of Miami in one of the city's most historic sites. An evening with Paul George was held on Friday in Biscayne Park's historic log cabin that formerly served as the village's hall and police station in its inception in the 1930s. He spoke on the history of Miami in the 20th century. George, a Miami native who attended Miami-Dade College and the University of Miami, later deciding to pursue his master's and doctorate at Florida State University, says that the city's rich history was what ultimately influenced his career path.
Its rich history is what got me into Miami's history. Most people can enjoy a city without knowing its history, but if they get to know its history, I think they'll enjoy it even more. And it's out there. I mean, there's books and articles and interviews on TV and documentaries and what have you, and I've been part of all those things. So I know there's a lot of stuff out there if somebody wants to latch onto it.
He has been a teacher of Miami and Florida history at Miami-Dade College since 1991. George says that he loved educating those from all walks of life.
The national wave of pro-Palestinian protesters on university campuses continue this morning. Most recently, Pomona College in Southern California decided to move yesterday's commencement. The cancellation is due to an encampment set last week on its original stage. The graduation took place in the Shrine Auditorium. More than 100 protesters gathered outside the auditorium, where they were met by law enforcement. A demonstrator said that officers struck people in the stomach with batons. The issue of protesting has students on campuses divided.
I think it's sad, and I think it's It's a really bad way to end your college career, and I think it's showing exactly where Pomona is headed.
Inside the venue, some students took out small Palestinian flags and banners as they walked across stage. Saachi Patel, a student speaker, brought awareness to the case in her speech without any interruptions.
Continuing with the turmoil on college campuses as a result of protests, many graduates of Duke University walked out when famed comedian Jerry Seinfeld took the stage as their commencement speaker. Seinfeld and his wife Jessica have been vocal supporters of Israel's war in Gaza. Jessica recently helped fund pro-Israeli counter-protests on UCLA's campus. Some turned violent. A pamphlet given by organizers said that Duke's choice of Seinfeld as speaker served as a wake-up call to take action, but that their goal of the university's divestment from companies tied to the war remains the main one. And now the cries of "play ball" are being heard on a nearby Little League field for the first time since Hurricane Ian 4 years ago. Reporter Camila Pereira from Wink News has more from Fort Myers Beach.
The crack of the bat is something Little League players never thought they'd get to see again here on Fort Myers Beach.
I played out here when I was 6. Yeah, like 6, right? Now I'm 10. That was 4 years ago. It just brings back a lot of memories to be out here with my friends.
As Hurricane Ian wiped out the field entirely, leaving nowhere for this team to play on the island.
This place was like a garbage dump for like 2 years.
Emergency management used the field as a debris site after the storm, but in October, this spot got a whole new look and last month opened to the public. And the energy high, finally being back here on this field to play ball. While the Fort Myers Beach Little League didn't play on Saturday, seeing teams play out on the field made them smile, knowing they'll be back again.
It's important to us because we've been playing for a long time, and we connect with each other by this in our school too. So it's fun playing this with each other.
This brings a little bit of normalcy back to our island. You know, we've been displaced for a couple years. Our kids were displaced in school. Our Little League's been displaced. And it takes time after being impacted the way we were impacted. But, you know, this is a good step in the right direction.
That was Camila Pereira from Wink News. While the field is back and open for future games, the league says that it is always accepting donations to help continue the rebuild.
A hard-hitting game between the Panthers and the Bruins, and the Cats try to claw their way closer to the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's still ahead, and so is the story.
And he sends this one high in the air, deep out towards center to give the Marlins the lead.
To try and beat the team with the best record in baseball, it will take all 9 innings and then some. Newsbreak will be back in just 2 minutes.
See us dream. See us remember. See us protest.
You matter. Your feelings matter. Your identity matters. Everything about who you are matters.
See us fight back. See us rebuild. See us shatter stereotypes. See us inspire. See us united. See us now.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
The Marlins headed to extra innings playing against a team with the best record in the league. If you took your mom out for Mother's Day at Lone Depot Park and she reluctantly went, the Marlins made it a very special day for her going against the Philadelphia Phillies.
After being down 3-0 in the first inning, the Fish swam up the leaderboard, and with a Josh Bell homer with Jazz Chisholm Jr. and Jake Berger on bases, the Miami took the lead at the bottom of the third. The game ended up going into extra innings, and if there wasn't, the Fish reeled in with Emmanuel Rivera hitting the game-winning single that allowed Nick Fortes to run in from the second. The final score for this game was Philadelphia 6, Marlins 7. The Fish head to Motown to play the Detroit Tigers tonight at 6:40 p.m.
Well, FIU baseball is now looking forward this morning to something that the Marlins won't experience this year, the postseason. Dingers were flying all over FIU baseball stadium during the team's weekend series against the Sam Houston Bearcats. Seniors Ryan Guida and Jeff LaCorey belted homers to cap off their CUSA careers yesterday. The Panthers' pitching would be their Achilles heel, though, especially with the firepower brought by Bearcats catcher Walker Yannick, who's a top 50 prospect for the 2024 MLB Draft. The final score was Bearcats 10, Panthers 6. The Panthers closed out the year 1-8 in their conference. They will rematch against Miami on Tuesday in their final game before the CUSA tournament.
And now to a different Florida Panthers. They're just one game away from beating the Boston Bruins and advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals. After being down 2-0 in the first period, the Cardiac Cats showed how they got their name and tied the game at the start of the final period. That goal was instantly challenged by the Bruins to give a, quote, a call for goaltending interference, in which they failed to get. The Panthers put the puck in the back of the net in what would eventually be the game-winning shot by Alexander Barkov. The final score was Panthers 3, Boston 2. The Panthers come back home to play in a potential final game of the series against Boston tomorrow at 7 p.m. You're watching Newsbreak. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back.
How prepared is your family if a tornado shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a hurricane? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
FIU wasn't really my first choice, but, you know, I grew up wanting to be a Hurricane, but that didn't work out, so I'm here now, I guess.
Hey, man. Your shoes untied.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, no problem.
Should have done that against Georgia Tech.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right, because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
I help our fellows design their paths as creative entrepreneurs. My experiences serving startups, creative businesses, and cultural organizations, and my journey as a queer mixed immigrant with Haitian and Arabic roots, inform the co-creative environment we foster at Radcliffe. We leverage our collective diversity to encourage the building of lifelong personal learning networks and mindsets that stimulate continuous innovation.
That's all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Anthony Cruz.
I'm Valentina Gaspari. Get more news anytime at caplinnews.fiu.edu.